Hey, it's your boy Freshy Fletch in the flesh, and welcome to A Fresh Start, the place where we help you forge a path to a better life. Today's topic is going to be a little bit different. Today we're talking about credit. Credit is very, very, very important in the day and age that we live in, and I wanted to go over some tips and some tricks, and also showed you how I raised my credit score by 60 points in 1 month. Anyway, we'll get on to the video, but just a friendly reminder, if you like the video, please hit that like button. If you want to interact with me or the family, you can leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the video.
Can you do that for me? Can you do that for me?
So credit. Before I start and show you the methods that you're going to be using and what you have to look out for, let me first describe what is credit. Credit is basically a history of how often you are making payments on time, in layman's terms. For example, if you had a loan from either a bank for, let's say, a car, a house, or maybe you took out a credit card, credit is the background, the report, the spreadsheet that keeps track of how likely you are to pay your future creditors based on how well you've paid your creditors in the past. So it's a weird system, and at some point some people could say it's a scam, and some people will tell you to avoid credit altogether, which is not a bad strategy. But at the same time, if you are good with utilizing credit and you educate yourself, you can use it as a very, very, very important tool. The biggest thing you're going to want to know is there are three major credit bureaus: Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Sometimes certain things are only reported to a couple of the bureaus, sometimes one, or sometimes all three. It really just depends, but you have to keep track of all three just as equally, or all three equally, because they're all just as important. When your creditor, when someone is trying to approve you for a loan, they may check one, they may check two, or they may check all three. So it just makes sense to have all three of your credit scores in line. So why do you need credit? Well, credit is important if you're trying to buy something that you can't afford. Unfortunately, here, at least I know here in America, there are some things that are essential that are priced so highly that it would take you an absurd amount of time to be able to save up the money if you're going off of your earned income only. Such as a car, which can be, anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 or even more, or sometimes less, or a house, which can be in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So in order for the average person like you or I to be able to afford these things, what we would do would be to take out a loan or take out a line of credit from the bank. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hop into your web browser and go over to, I use Credit Karma, but you want to go over to whatever credit monitoring website that you use. You can actually also get a free credit report, I believe, from the three credit bureaus as well. I think there's a limitation on how often you can do it. Here at my Credit Karma, it shows me my TransUnion and my Equifax. I can't talk today. My Equifax credit scores. Now, these are some scores that I haven't really been working on because I didn't need credit for anything. But then I recently went to purchase a home, and as I did, I was like, you know what? I'm probably going to want to start raising my credit so that I can try to do some additional investments in the future. So I did a couple of tips and tricks, which I'm going to show you now. But before I do, I want to break down a couple of sections in here that are extremely important. So this page shows you what's really important on your credit, what is being monitored, what can cause your score to go up or down, and things of that nature. For instance, there are 6 boxes here. There's your payment history, credit card use, derogatory marks, credit age, total accounts, and your hard inquiries. Some of these you can see are in the green, some are in the red because they didn't meet the expectations. The ones that are high impact, I repeat, the ones that are high impact, those are the ones that you have to make sure are absolutely flawless, as close to flawless as you can get. So for instance, payment history, this is pretty self-explanatory, making sure that you're making all your payments on time. Try to never have a late payment. And if you do have a late payment, don't let it go over 30 to 60 days, because once it gets put on your credit report, it is very, very, very difficult to get off. I cannot stress that enough. It even says here a single 30 or 60-day missed payment is easier to recover from but can hurt your score significantly. A 90-day missed payment is more damaging and could disqualify you from certain loans. And then after 90 days, missed payments become charge-offs and sent to a collection agency. When it goes to collections, this is horrible. This is really bad. This is why my score was a little bit lower than it should have been in the first place. So 1 second, I'm going to go back and show you that. All right, so derogatory marks. This is really what gets you. If you have anything that goes to public records or collections, it is really going to hurt your score. Even at 1, it puts you in the yellow range. And you have 2 to 3, forget about it. Your score is dropping anywhere from 50 to 100 points at that time. That's when you have to call your creditors and be like, hey, listen, I know I owe you this debt. Is there any way that you can have it removed from my credit report? They're obviously going to ask for, the funds, which is understandable. That's what they are debt collectors. But a lot of the times they'll work with you, so you don't have to pay off the full debt. Now, here is the thing. And just for the record, I am not a certified CPA, and this is not financial advice. This is what I do, and you can take this at your own risk. If you settle with the company, a lot of the times it will drop your score. It will show it as paid off, but then your score will drop significantly. You're going to have to make sure you're very specific when asking for the terms to pay your creditors. You have to make sure that they are willing to remove it from your credit report completely versus putting it in a settled status. If they put it in a settled status, that is not what you want at all. Hey y'all, don't forget to support your boy by hitting that subscribe button. Also, you will be notified daily when I come out with videos. Anyway, I'll let you get back to it. The other really important metric that you're going to want to look out for is your credit utilization. Now, here's the thing. I actually didn't have a credit card. I don't like credit cards very much just because of the interest rate being so high. But I understand that you do need one in order to help build your credit. It's probably one of the easiest and fastest ways to help build your credit. So all I did was I took out a secured card for the amount of $500. Oh, and for those of you that don't know what a secured card is, basically it's a credit card, but you're putting your own money up front. So I gave them my money to give me a line of credit, but if anything goes wrong, they still have my money as collateral, and I'm using that in order to raise my score. Right now, my credit card use is at 0%, meaning that once I make a purchase on it, I automatically pay it off before the closing date, and it doesn't get reported to the credit bureaus. So this is something that you want to monitor closely. Now, they say that anywhere under 30% is perfectly fine, so you do not have to keep it at 0%. However, you still want to keep it as low as possible, just in case, you have it at 29%, but then you get an interest charge that you didn't realize, and it goes up to 30%. That can wind up lowering your score a little bit. So keep it in the 0 to 9 range if possible. So the other factors that wind up impacting your credit are on the low to medium impact range, and some of them you don't have as much control over. So for instance, credit age. My credit age is only 1 year and 6 months. So when you're under 2 years of credit history, then it doesn't boost your score as much, whether if you had like a 7-year, 8-year, or 9-year credit history. So that does count against me, but however, it's a medium impact, so it's not as important as the high impact ones that I showed you earlier. Total accounts. Creditors like to see that you have a lot of accounts. They want to know that you are trusted in other places. That gives you a better reputation. For me, like I said, I'm not a big fan of credit cards, so I don't have too many accounts. It looks like I have 2 open accounts, 3 closed accounts, which I believe a couple of those were cars and other things. But for the most part, I try to keep my accounts fairly low. This can impact you negatively. The more accounts you have, the better, technically. Just don't get yourself overwhelmed and biting off more than you can chew. And lastly, hard inquiries. So whenever someone checks your credit, if anyone ever asks to check your credit, that's going to bring your credit score down. So you don't I mean, obviously, sometimes it's things that we have to do. You can't just say no if you want to try to get an apartment and they're asking to check your credit. I mean, you need a place to live. So, all I advise here is try to keep those to a minimum. Don't just go, applying for credit 5 different credit cards in the same week. Although, if that's a certain strategy you want to do, go for it. But I don't advise. I don't advise for that, just because the amount of hard inquiries that you have can bring your score down. Usually, your score comes back within 3 months, and try to spread them out, every year or so. So a few a year if necessary. Okay, and now for the time you've been waiting for, I'm gonna show you what I did to raise my score 59 points in a month. So I did mention this earlier, but I did have some things on collections that I needed removed. I tried to dispute it, but it didn't go through. So at this point, it was like, all right, it's time to just call the creditors and see what can be done. I called them. I explained to them the situation. They were willing to settle, but not really settle. They were willing for me to pay less than what I owed. However, they would completely remove it from my report. Sometimes creditors can be a little shady, so make sure you get this in writing from your creditor before you make any transactions, which I did. So you can see here, it was reported in January 18th, there was no change. Then January 25th, there was no change. And on February 9th, with the removal of the collections and then also a balance decrease in one of my other accounts, my score jumped up a whopping 59 points. That is how impactful it can be when you're getting those items off of your collections. You just have to make sure that your debt collector is willing to remove them. But anyway, that ends my little tutorial on Credit 101 and how I managed to raise my credit score 59 points over the course of a month. Let me know if this works for you. Once again, I am not an accountant. This is not financial advice. You can choose to do this at your own risk. I am not liable. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for the support. If you have any questions, please leave a question down in the comments. Also, please hit that like button. And as always, do not forget to subscribe. I appreciate every single one of you. And thank you so much for watching the videos. And welcome to Fresh Start if this is your first time. Anyway, it's Freshy Fletch.
Do that for me.